Welcome to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole. We are already in the new year, but we are discussing what we did last year. So the best books that have come out in 2020. I keep thinking it's supposed to be 2019. We're talking about, but it's 2020.
No, let's move forward. Let's definitely move forward.
We're in 2021. We're talking about the best books of 2020. Some of these are like people's opinions. Some of these are critics' opinions. It depends on the one.
Yeah, we try to kind of get a mix as well of books you've probably or might have heard of already during the year, that from like really top authors, and then also mixing in ones that were maybe a little bit more obscure, that were still well reviewed, maybe by critical journals, but didn't make a splash so much in like popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
So so we tried to get kind of a mixture like that.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. And there's too many. So we're splitting this one up into two different parts. This one we're talking about fantasy, sci-fi, and horror. And next we will be talking about more contemporary graphic novels,
mysteries,
things like that. The more true to life stuff.
Yes.
Not that horror can't be true to life.
That's very true.
Yeah, yes. We know from 2020. Yeah, so we will get into it. Are you talking about the first one or am I?
You are talking about the first one.
Okay, so this one is a fantasy. It was the Goodreads winner, I believe. It's called House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Is this the one that got put into adult?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah, we talked about that in a previous episode where a YA series suddenly got shifted into the adult section at libraries and chapters, and everyone was like, ah.
And by everyone, she means like nerdy librarians who worry about this kind of thing.
Yeah. People who are like, how do we file these?
Right. And the general public probably didn't notice, but we did. And it's like, where do we put them? It is kind of interesting though. Like the reason it happened is Sarah J. Maas is her first books were young adult. Mm-hmm. But even from her very first book, there was a lot of conversation about, she tends to get a little bit more explicit in a lot of her violent and also intimate scenes. A lot of YA tends to just ... fade to black. And she does that either later than people normally do or not so much. So I think that probably is why part of this move was made, because people were had some feelings about how explicit stuff may or may not be in her books. I haven't read one of her books for a while, so I can't comment to that personally, but I know that is the source of the concern.
Yeah, she was like, no, I'm diving headfirst into the adult section now. Peace out, teens.
Yeah, or follow me, because they probably will, but
it's for the new adults, as per usual.
Yes.
Okay, so this one is, I think I have I have the right cover. Okay, so House of Earth and Blood. Okay, the description is not great. I will just read it anyway. Goodreads voters in the fantasy category tended towards the dark and sticky side this year.
That's
and the
gross.
2020, I know, right? I'm like, it's not a good description. This win goes to House and Earth of Blood, her first introduction into her new Crescent City series. Stitched through with threads of romance and suspense, the novel follows complex heroine Bryn Quinlan and fallen angel Hunt Athalar as they track a lethal demon through the city.
Okay, here you go. Here's the rest of it. Basically, there's a bit more description, but basically the main focus is unforgettable characters, sizzling romance, and page-turning suspense.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
They all do. They always do. I say that everyone. I'm like, that sounds great. It's on my list.
Those lists just keep growing. Yeah, absolutely. It's dangerous doing this program. Okay, so the next one is one of mine. This is a first book in a series. It's called Black Sun, and it's by Rebecca Roanhorse. And she's been on the New York Times bestseller list for previous books, and this is the first book in the Between Earth and Sky trilogy. Inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas and woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, political intrigue, and forbidden magic. Delightful cover. Very interesting. I'm sure, well, you can check it out yourself, or Nicole will post it up if you happen to be watching the video. So here's some more description of what the plot's about. In the holy city of Tova, the winter solstice is usually a time for celebration and renewal, but this year it coincides with a solar eclipse, a rare celestial event proscribed by the sun priest as an unbalancing of the world. Okay, so that's what he says. Meanwhile, a ship launches from a distant city bound for Tova and set to arrive on the solstice. The captain of the ship, Zelia, is a disgraced teak whose song can calm the waters around her as easily as it can warp a man's mind. So basically a version of a siren, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Her ship carries one passenger. Described as harmless, the passenger, Serapio, is a young man, blind, scarred, and cloaked in destiny.
Wow.
What does that look like exactly? Cloaked in destiny. Sounds fashionable.
Yeah.
As Zelia well knows, when a man is described as harmless, he usually ends up being a villain. That is like a real solid burn against nice guys.
Yeah.
Crafted with unforgettable characters, Rebecca Roanhorse has created an epic adventure exploring the decadence of power amidst the weight of history and the struggle of individuals swimming against the confines of society and their broken pasts in the most original series debut of the decade.
Love it. I'm pretty sure that this is in our IKC.
Could well be.
And I will this is more of a trigger warning for me. There is in the first chapter some eye gore.
Oh.
So like he's blind and scarred.
Right.
And his eyes are sewn shut. So it was a little too much for me.
Oh, so you gave this a shot.
And then I think I got like 2 chapters in. I was like, I can't get over that image. I was like, I'm dipping out. But it was a really cool idea.
Yes, no, that's fair. Eye stuff is not for everyone. I don't care for it either. There's a reason I've never worn contacts. Yeah, never.
Yeah, so
never will.
Sounds
never
good, but not the eye stuff. So give it a try. I know we have it on Cloud Library because that's where I was reading it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one's yours.
The next one is mine. Okay. It's called To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. As we were talking about this before the episode, it's the same author who wrote the Aragorn series. If you have seen the movie, don't judge the series by the movie. I've heard not good things. No. Despite Avril Lavigne being in the soundtrack. I mean, come on.
What?
You didn't know that?
Young people who are hearing us talking right now are like, who are either of those people? Avril Lavigne, what is an Aragon?
They know who Avril Lavigne is. Come on. Okay, description. Kira Navarez dreamed of a life on new worlds. Now she's awakened a nightmare. During a routine survey mission on an uncolonized planet, Kira finds an alien relic. At first, she's delighted, but elation turns to terror when the ancient dust around her begins to move. I know. As war erupts among the stars, Kira is launched into a galaxy-spanning odyssey of discovery and transformation. First contact isn't all what she imagined, and events push her to the very limits of what it means to be human. While Kira faces her own horrors, Earth and its colonies stand upon the brink of annihilation. Now, Kira might be humanity's greatest and final hope. Beautiful cover.
Yes.
Beautiful cover.
I know some members of TBPL staff have read it and really enjoyed it. And we're recommending it to each other. And it did win the Goodreads Choice Award as well. And I believe it is a standalone. So if you're looking for something that is just a one-off, could be a good option for you.
Give it a shot. It's a sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. Okay, our next one, I believe is a fantasy. The Doors of Eden by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I can talk. Okay, so I do enjoy this sort of friends, and then someone goes missing, and then they come back. Have they changed? Is it really them? What's going on? I do like that trope. Yeah. So, okay, so here's the description. Lee's best friend went missing on Bodmin Moor 4 years ago. She and Mal were chasing rumors of monsters when they found something all too real. Now Mal is back, but where has she been? And who is she working for? When government physicist K. Amal Khan is attacked, the security services investigate. This leads MI5's Julian Saburo deep into terrifying new territory, where he clashes with mysterious agents of an unknown power who may or may not be human. And Julian's only clue is some grainy footage showing a woman who supposedly died on Bodmin Moor. Khan's extra-dimensional research was purely theoretical until she found cracks between our world and countless others, parallel Earths where monsters live. These cracks are getting wider every day, so who knows what might creep through, or what will happen when those walls finally come crashing down.
Ooh, a perfect meld of sci-fi and fantasy.
Monsters, parallel worlds, extra-dimensional research.
Of course. Nothing better.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. This one I'm interested in reading.
This is one that you've probably heard of if you've been paying attention to like top books of the year at all. Mm-hmm. It's made tons of lists, and this author has written many popular best-selling books.
Yeah, I didn't really realize at first that Victoria Schwab and V.E. Schwab are the same person.
Same person.
Yeah, they're like, I'm just an adult now, so I go by my initials. Okay, so this is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. A life no one will remember, a story you will never forget. France, 1714. In a moment of desperation, a young woman makes a Faustian bargain to live forever and is cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets. Thus begins the extraordinary life of Addie LaRue, and a dazzling adventure that will play out across centuries and continents, across history and art, as a young woman learns how far she will go to leave her mark on the world. But everything changes when, after nearly 300 years, Addie stumbles across a young man in a hidden bookstore, and he remembers her name. Sounds good too.
It does. Yeah. It does. It sounds good. There's quite a lot of those, like, living long term or living forever. But it is interesting. The frustration of being forgotten by everyone.
Mm-hmm. Very like Cassandra of the Greek mythology. Like she has prophecy, but no one will ever believe her.
Right. It's like a gift and a curse at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember earlier at one point in time, I used to feel that I would rather be disliked than ignored.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I was a sassy teenager, let me tell you.
Still sassy, not a teen.
So, yeah, definitely not a teen. So that would have been like a real serious curse problem for me, definitely.
Yeah, but you live forever.
Yeah, you can read all the books. You'd have time for reading all the books then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next one falls into the horror category, and this is another one that New York Times bestseller, tons of attention, beautiful cover, sounds amazing.
Goodreads winner too.
It was a Goodreads winner too. Okay, so this one is called Mexican Gothic, and it's by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. After receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging for someone to save her from a mysterious doom, Noemi Taboada,
sure,
something probably wasn't close. I tried. Heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. She's not sure what she will find. Her cousin's husband, a handsome Englishman, is a stranger, and Noemi knows little about the region. She's also an unlikely rescuer. She's a glamorous debutante, and her chic gowns and perfect red lipstick are more suited to cocktail parties than amateur sleuthing. But she's also tough and smart, with an indomitable will, and she is not afraid. Not of her cousin's new husband, who is both menacing and alluring, not of his father, the ancient patriarch, who seems to be fascinated by Noemi, and not even of the house itself, which begins to invade Noemi's dreams with visions of blood and doom. Her only ally in this inhospitable abode is the family's youngest son. Shy and gentle, he seems to want to help Noemi, but might also be hiding dark knowledge of his family's past. For there are many secrets behind the walls of High Place. The family's once colossal wealth and faded mining empire kept them from prying eyes. But as Noemi digs deeper, she unearths stories of violence and madness.
Ooh.
Yeah, and Noemi, mesmerized by the terrifying yet seductive world of High Place, may soon find it impossible to ever leave this enigmatic house behind. It is so classic Gothic. I mean, it's literally in the title.
It's a
Right? Mexican
Mexican
Gothic.
Gothic.
But it is so just like, just all it just brings to mind Jane Eyre a whole lot, right? Like the alluring and menacing husband.
It's all
It's like
there.
the truth is usually they're just creeps, but somehow the alluring part fools you into thinking maybe they're not. But yeah, sounds really good. So if you're into Gothic novels, this is one that is like a whole sort of different slant on it because it's literally again the Mexican Gothic. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
interested in horror, that is what this one falls under. Even though the description doesn't sound too horrific, although there were the visions of blood and doom
Yeah, I
and
suspect
stories
those
of
are the
violence and
horror.
madness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds great. And again, I apologize for horribly missaying the person's name. I'm sure
Again,
I
Laura,
butchered
in
it.
in the last video I edited, I am not joking. There was 10 times we were both just like, it was things like inexorable and
Oh,
like, it was just like words that we really should know.
right. Well, sometimes we apologize in advance for our poor pronunciation.
Yeah, it's with everything. Which just
Yes,
it's a staple of the podcast.
it is. There you go. That's part of our thing.
Oh
That's one of our
god.
things.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Next one.
Next one's
Cool
you.
cover. Yeah,
Hmm.
cool cover. The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. Okay, a tale of revenge, cultural identity, and the cost of breaking from tradition in this latest novel from the Jordan Oh, see what I'm saying?
And that's a simple word.
I know. In this latest novel from the Jordan Peele of horror literature, Stephen Graham Jones. Okay. Seamlessly blending classic horror and a dramatic narrative with sharp social commentary, The Only Good Indians follows four American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an entity bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up with them in a violent and vengeful way.
Yeah. And if you're like, who is what is Jordan Peele the Jordan Peele of? He is the writer and director
Get Out.
of Get Out and the movie Us, those horror movies that are extremely great. So that's a really flattering comparison, certainly.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
and they're both very horror, so it's an apt comparison.
Yes, yes, definitely. Okay, our next one is called The Ring. Oh, sorry, just Ring Shout. I was going to say The Ring Shout. Just Ring Shout by P. Djali Clark. So, this one is a dark fantasy historical novella that gives a supernatural twist to the Ku Klux Klan's reign of terror. Okay,
It was on a ton of
I'm
lists
on
that I
board.
looked at. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a lot of people liked this one.
yeah. D.W. Griffith is a sorcerer, and The Birth of the Nation is a spell that drew upon the darkest thoughts and wishes from the heart of America. So, The Birth of the Nation, what they're referring to is that horrific, horrible movie that came out. So they're working from an actual historical event and then changing things from there. Okay.
Okay.
Now rising in power and prominence, the Klan has a plot to unleash hell on Earth. Luckily, Maryse Boudreau has a magic sword and a head full of tails. When she's not
Yay.
running, yeah, yay. When she's not running bootleg whiskey through Prohibition, Georgia, she's fighting monsters she calls Ku Kluxes. She's damn good at it too. But to confront this ongoing evil, she must journey between worlds to face nightmares made flesh and her own demons. Together with a foul-mouthed sharpshooter and a Harlem hellfighter, Marie sets out to save the world from the hate that would consume it.
That sounds delightful. Like horrible and delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Sounds great. I'm
Take 'em
pretty sure it's
down.
on Cloud Library. Might even be might have it in print as well. Yeah. I
Oh,
do enjoy an alternate history.
we should say that not all of these will be available at the library. We're just kind of recapping the entire year. And some of them might be coming soon. We have a huge backlog of stuff that's coming into the library. I don't know if you've seen it, Laura. It is
Have
like
not, because
insane. They are
Nicole,
working hard.
Nicole works at the branch where the new books come in. So
Mhm.
she gets to see these things. I
Yeah,
do
there's
not.
there's like 10 carts at least full of books.
Okay. So if
Yeah.
you don't see it in the collection, check back is what we're saying.
It could be coming.
It could be coming. Okay.
Okay. Next one. Oh, wait, I went too far. Okay. Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Danforth asks readers to contemplate how stories are told, which horrors are real, which are imagined, and which are consciously constructed. The story, set at the cursed Brookhant's School for Girls, unfolds across time in three linked storylines. It features a pointed female focus and unease seeping in from the perimeter, spiking to fear at key moments, and vividly drawn characters.
Yeah. Feminist horror. This
Sounds good.
sounds, as usual, sounds good. Yeah. We're on board. We're on board. Okay. We have one more main one. So this novel is called Leave the World Behind, and it's by Ruman Alman. And funnily enough, my mother just lent it to me last week.
No
She read
way.
it. Yeah, and she liked it. So it's on the shelf over there. I just haven't got to it yet. Okay, so this one, a magnetic novel about two families, strangers to each other, who are forced together on a long weekend gone terribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Two families
Mm-hmm.
forced
Classic.
together. Yeah. Amanda and Clay head out to a remote corner of Long Island expecting a vacation, a quiet reprieve from life in New York City, quality time with their teenage son and daughter, and a taste of the good life and the luxurious home they've rented for the week. But a late night knock at the door breaks the spell. Ruth and GH are an older Black couple. It's their house, and they've arrived in a panic. They bring the news that a sudden blackout has swept the city. But in this rural area, with the TV and internet now down and no cell phone service, it's hard to know what to believe. Should Amanda and Clay trust this couple, and vice versa? What happened back in New York? Is the vacation home, isolated from civilization, a truly safe place for their families? And are they safe from one another?
Ooh.
Suspenseful and provocative, Ruman Alman's third novel is keenly attuned to the complexities of parenthood, race, and class. Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones are forged in moments of crisis.
That sounds really neat. Like it's a neat idea. I like it.
Yeah. I feel like I may have miscategorized this one looking at it. I think it might have been meant to be on the thriller list and we accidentally put it here.
That's okay.
That's okay. So if you listen to that description and you're like, where is the like fantasy element? I think maybe there's
It's
not
taste
secretly a
for
monster
tomorrow.
in the pool or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
just
taste for the next one.
that's all. Yeah. I
um
believe. Yes.
then we have a I'll read through this list because Laura's going to give us her top 5-star picks of the year. So I will quickly mention we have this year. We read a lot of really popular books this year and
Did.
mentioned a lot of really popular books last year, I guess. And so this is a list of the ones that we have previously discussed. So you can find those on YouTube if you look for them. So these are the good ones that we've mentioned. And other notables. Lakewood by Megan Giddings, Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampires by Grady Hendricks, Queen of Nothing by Holly Black, Hearts of Oak by Eddie Robson, Squeeze Me by Carl Hyacin, The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, Upright Women Wanted by Sarah Gailey, Murderbot series by Martha Wells, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, First book in
You got on a roll.
I was on a roll.
You were on a roll. Okay, I wrote these awkwardly, so I can say them maybe. these were my notables I threw at the end. A first new book in many years by an author that their book was huge and then they disappeared. Piranesi by Susanna Clark. She wrote Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, which many people enjoyed when it came out many years ago. So if you didn't hear, she has a new one, check it out. And the other one that I wanted to throw out was N.K. Jamison's The City We Became. I feel like I don't think we ever did talk about this book. We did we did definitely rec other books by this author, but not this one in particular. So I wanted to shout it out too.
I feel like
And
it might be coming up on a list later this year. I
could be,
think.
could be.
We'll see.
We'll see. But yeah, so all those books that Nicole read off are ones that we recommended in different episodes, fall into different topics. There's ones that we mentioned for like vampires, Pride Month, westerns, all sorts of stuff. So that is also a good starter list to go through.
Now, Laura, give us your top 5 stars of the year.
I will. Okay, so my top.
I know I keep wanting to say top 5 of the year.
That's not right. Okay, so my top 5-star reads of the year are very easy for me to tell you because I track all my reading on using Goodreads, which is a social media platform that you can use to track your reading. So I can very easily just go and look at the list of all the books I read and then sort and see which ones I gave 5 stars to. So this year I gave out 3 5-star reviews to adult books. I'm not going to mention the kids' books I gave 5 stars to. There were a couple of those too, but we'll stick with just the adult ones. And unsurprisingly, these are all books that, again, we'd already talked about previously on the podcast in different episodes, but as you know, you may be newly joining us. I'm just going to go through again and let you know why I enjoyed them so much. So the first one is The Subtweet by Vivek Shera, and that's a Canadian author. And that one is a contemporary story of female friendship, really, ultimately, is what I would say it's about. Female friendship and creativity and the strange relationships between women that like it sort of intersects this weird place where it's like you love the person and you respect the person, but you're also competitive with that person. And how that can like be positive in a way sometimes because it pushes you, but then it can also be really destructive. And it also really, it also looks at like cancel culture, right? Like, which is a real, like, the subtweet, the title basically tells you that it's going to be digging into that a little bit and how social media can make connections and can also really divide friendships. And it's just really interesting. It's a diverse read. It's an own voices read. The characters are, well, one of the characters is a trans person, trans woman, and it's one of these ones where we talk about a lot with diversity and stories about coming from different marginalized communities and how kind of the goal is always for the story to be not about that thing. It's just the story is about other stuff and they're living their life as, and that's what this book is like. It's not, perfect. Yeah, it's not about her being trans. It's just, that's just who she is. Really great book. Really, really interesting look at female friendship. I enjoyed it a lot.
There you go.
A lot. My next one, Solutions and Other Problems by Addie Brosh. This one is a graphic novel, and it is the first new book out from Addie Brosh since her other book, her Hyperbole and a Half book that came out 7 years ago. And it's about mental health. She tells some really funny stories from her childhood, talks about difficult things she's been working through. It's really funny. First of all, you can tell from the cover that it is a goofy little cartoon. So as usual, she's just really great at telling funny stories and also somehow at the same time at telling these sort of heartbreaking, illuminating, kind of beautiful stories about grief. Just a really great read. It might make you cry because of you're laughing so hard, and it might also just make you cry because it's like,
sad
it's hitting you, because you're connecting to the sadness. Really great. And then my last one is, I would say, a little bit less sort of, not, I don't want to say it's not that the other two are cerebral, like the silly cartoon book, but this one for me personally, maybe it was just when I read it, I really read it as more of a light, quick read. As I said previously, I don't like the cover, continue to dislike the cover, and I don't think Don't let the cover turn you off. It is a fantasy. It is delightful. Have I even said the title yet? No way.
I don't think so.
The House
I was
in the
gonna put the cover up.
It's The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And this is another Own Voices one. The author is gay. The characters are gay, and it is just so bloody charming. It's a fantasy where a man who lives like a very structured life, he's following all the rules, and he works for an agency that oversees oversees the care of magical children, basically make sure that they're in orphanages or homes that are following all the appropriate rules. And he ends up going to investigate a specific home for these children and meeting the man who runs the place.
Maybe falling in love.
Things happen, he learns about himself. It's just so great. Really delightful slow burn. Reminds me, if you read Good Omens, it reminds me of the dynamic between Aziraphale and Crowley in that book. Just a really delightful romance.
Check them out.
Just check it out. Great book. Great book.
And that's your
That's all
top
I can say.
3.
That's my top 3, 5
Yay.
stars. Top 3, top 5 stars.
Top 3, top 5, 10, 8 stars. All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, and I will, like we said, mention mine on the next episode.
Yes.
So I guess that's our wrap up of the first half of our wrap up of 2020.
There we go.
Now I'm gonna try and stumble through our ending.
Totally. Excellent.
All right. So first things first, you can find us on all podcast places now on Tuesdays. The following Monday, you can find us at TBayPL on YouTube. We're also on Shaw Local Cable, so check us out there if you're interested.
If you happen to be local to Thunder Bay. Yeah.
Email us, read this next at tbpl.ca. We're on all social media at tbaypl, and we would love to hear from you. Like, comment, subscribe. Please leave us a review in the podcast places. It really helps people find our podcast and shows that we should keep going. Please.
Yes.
And so we'll see you all in the next episode.
Yes, we'll see you next week. We'll have part 2, and we'll be covering, like we said, we'll do more literary fiction and some mysteries, thrillers, and Nicole will do her top 5.
Yay!
Yeah. So join us then.
Bye.
Goodbye.